Hello, good evening. Today I will talk about a very beautiful book of mine called The Raven. It is a short novel. I am a writer. It is one of my novels. At the same time, it is a shorter novel. It is, a specific pleasure. As I've said, each book has a different amount of pages and each correlate to the part of enjoyment of that book in a certain way. So for me, I don't mind. I like shorter novel stories. It can be poetry, it can be prosa, it can be something very long, it can be something in verses, it can be something lyrical, it can be a hymn, it can be a story, as I said, a novel, a shorter novel, a longer novel, a psychologist novel, different type of novels. Instead, they always speak specific terminologies or specific thematics. It is, a literary work. That's the definition of a literary work. And say, well, The Raven, it is a short novel at the same time, that shortness gives it that strength, gives something to the book as it is. It is not necessarily about the number of the pages when it comes to a literary work. It is wrong to see a literary work from the amount of pages. At the same time, it does correlate, of course, to the work itself. It has a meaning as well. So, being a shorter novel, of course, it is more poignant or something more full of meaning. You say, well, it looks simple, it is short, at the same time it carries a certain part of the storytelling that creates some type of magic as well. The shorter novels, as I've said, are very beautiful type of stories in general. I do enjoy that. Well, I've said I've read a few books which were just a few pages, but the story was so beautiful. I enjoyed every word, or I enjoyed every page. So there's the element of enjoyment as well. And this is a recording part of a playlist where I speak about my book, The Raven, or other books that I have written. It's always a pleasure for me, for the reader as well, to present my books, of course, in a way that I feel myself entitled to do as a writer, with my own ideas, with my own imagination or ideas about writing or literary work in general. I do have my expertise as well in this, or different subjects as well, but I like to speak simple. I like to keep things in a very good understanding. It is not about the heavy words, or it's not about necessarily it is important to what word comes through and what is the meaning of that word. I say, well, in a literary work, the words are very important, and it's the work of the writer to create the right story, or to create a certain type of story that does have those qualities of something of quality. It is, of course, the distinction between a good writer or not a good writer. There are different elements that a good writer takes in consideration and works in a specific manner. At the same time, of course, writing is art. It is a free expression, and as I've said, it should not be limited to the number of pages. The writer takes the pages that the work needs. It is a specific number of pages that the story needs as well. My books range, sometimes I've said, between 100 something pages to 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 pages. Some of my books are larger as well. So, well, it depends on the story as well. It is representative for the story as well. And The Raven, as I've said, a shorter novel, it expresses something very valuable, something very rich, something very important, or something beautiful. It is almost like one memory in time, or one expression of that memory through words. It has a poetic intensity as well. And novels, of course, they are based on characters. In the Book of Raven, we have two characters. This is the raven, or the man who represents the raven, and his daughter. So it is a very intimate type of novel. It is between two characters, but with the symbolic of the raven and the symbolic of the story of the raven, and that appears in the book to say, well, the story of the raven, as told by the old beliefs, or as told by the old understanding, of course, it does carry a very beautiful poetic meaning. It is a symbolic literary work. And I think it's a beautiful story or a beautiful novel. I like the cover very much of the raven. The animal of the raven is very interesting to me. I always felt very connected in general to birds, but to the raven itself or himself. Of course, it appears in different literary works with different type of meanings. And for me, I was not so much based on the symbol, even if for the cover and for the book, of course, it does represent, they are connected. For me, it was more about the story between the daughter and her father, and that story that they carried through that element of the raven, which represents the element of nature. And of course, the story is told in a different story, in a different time, in a different storyline. It is something from the past. It is something connected to the power of raven, and that what the raven represents. In the same time, the raven is represented by the father, and say by the daughter too is connected to the raven through her father. No, it has part of the lineage or of the culture, of the beliefs of the father, of the raven, and what that belief means. And yes, the cover has this beautiful raven. No, so well, the raven does carry wisdom. The raven does carry insights that we might miss or we might not understand. The raven is a secret key, or represents some certain type of knowledge that can be secret. So well, there are secrets only the raven knows. The raven knows the secrets, or the raven has a deeper understanding of things. In the same time, the raven is a free bird. The raven is very free. It elements of the freedom, or the elements of the freedom, of the air, of that flight, of that meaning of being free, no? And so, of course, the raven is black. It's the color of the night, of the black, of that mystery. Say the raven too carries a certain type of mystery, certain type of knowledge that one can read even closer in the book. As I've said, there are different representations to the raven and to the meaning of raven. My book represents a certain type of understanding that I have chosen for the novel, the way I wanted to write it, but it does not exclude, of course, all the other meanings that the raven has. It is rich in symbol, rich in meaning. And of course, the old beliefs of the raven does appear in different cultures as well, especially in the Indian or the shamanic culture. So, well, the power of the general of the birds, but in specific of the raven, of the black feathers, is that high knowledge, high altitude of the high magician or the shaman, or the shamanic power, is that no bird can compare with the raven. The raven is the magician. The raven is connected through that blackness to the color of the light of the sun. It is something that is represented for its opposite meaning as well. It is more integrative than we think, no? You say, well, the raven is black. No, yes, but through that black is connected to the light, to the sun. You say, well, birds in general carry wisdom and a lot of meaning. And in general, when birds appear in dreams, or one is connected to a type of bird, there's a certain type of quality that comes to us humans. There's a certain transfer of wisdom or of understanding, especially people who have understanding about nature, about different type of birds. It is a very special type of knowledge. It's a very beautiful, very childlike element of the raven. That's why the girl in the story, the daughter of the raven, feels so much connected to her father through the raven, through the power of the raven, and what that means. It is a question that still has not yet fully answered. What the raven means. It can be answered in a personal, polite way, or it can be searched or researched or found different meaning on the meaning of the raven. It is a symbol that carries more meaning. It is not set in stone. The power of the raven is that element of transformation and change. It is a catactonic power. It's called catactonic. Comes from the Greeks. The Greeks too, of course, gave the raven a specific omen or specific power of that illusion of the truth, of the power of the oracle as well. But the raven has even an older meaning. It does appear in different cultures, and of course say, well, it is a very beautiful bird. The raven is very special, is very intelligent, very agile, very able to fly at the same time. As I've said, in the Indian shamanic cultures, the raven were understood in a very high, beautiful meaning of the symbol of the raven. And that is the most closest truth to the power of the raven. There needs a certain type of understanding for one to understand the raven. It is not an easy symbol to understand. The raven does carry, as I've said, secrets or things that it will be revealed at a certain time if. There is a question of if. As I've said, the raven is a free spirit. But a spirit always of good omen. There is a good omen. The intelligence of the raven is what makes the raven be the raven. So, well, not all birds are the same. The raven is the most intelligent bird. That element of the intelligence makes the connection to humans so special as well. That's why, of course, the Indian or the shamanic cultures knew and understood the real power and true meaning of the raven. And this is what is shown in my book. It is connected to that part that came to me in visions, in dreams. It was a personal experience that I had, and it inspired me to write a book of the raven. So for me, even being a short or large novel, it does not matter. For me, it is the story behind the experience that I had as a writer and the beautiful meaning of the story that I created after. We say, well, it is the power of the shorter novel. It is something beautiful. And I do recommend the Book of Raven, even for, of course, adults, but even for teenagers. I said it is a beautiful story told by me. I written the book last year, and the visions I had a few years ago, it took a time for me to want to decide to necessarily write it, or I waited a time to see what type of book I want to write about that specific vision that I had. If you want to check out the book, there is a link in the description box. I publish my books always on Amazon if you want to buy it, and if you want to listen to other playlists where I talk about other books and grimoires that I have written, or novels or poetry or anything that I discuss in different playlists as well, there is a link in the description box. Or if you want to check out my other books, there is also a link where all my books that I have written and published. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye.